Assalamu alaikum and shalom. Okay, this is a visual presentation. It's fairly hard-hitting. It will be very emotional for some of you because the scenes are quite horrific. But this is the factual side of Gaza, and what you hear or what you see in the media is not what is actually happening. It's very important that you monitor this now because this is the truth and it can be proven. Because one never says anything unless you've got the evidence behind it. So here we have a picture. In the top left-hand corner is the Eastern Mediterranean as the world sees it. You will note in the top left-hand corner there is no border for Gaza or Palestine because it is not a sovereign state. But if you look over on the right-hand top corner, you will see a little white triangle. That is officially a disputed border with the United Nations. So the evidence is there that Gaza and Palestine does have a border, but it's not recognised. And so all that's in the triangle legally belongs to the people of Palestine, and more importantly to Gaza, because in order to claim your offshore limits, you have to have a coastline. So unless the people of Palestine come together, i.e. Hamas and Fatah, then you have a situation where all the wealth offshore legally belongs to Gaza and the people in West Bank have nothing. So it's very important for them to come together. In the middle, we have the Israeli and the rest of the world's interpretation of the offshore situation. And you can see the wide line at the top, that is called a buffer zone, and you'll see also down the bottom a buffer zone. This is territory that's taken away from Palestine. It is illegal. The Oslo Accord is illegal in international terms because Gaza and Palestine are entitled to an international border, which is on the outside, not in the buffer zone. You will also see three lines there, which is the offshore limits given to the fishermen. Now, legally, in international law, under the United Nations, they can claim 24 nautical miles from the low water mark, and then beyond that, they can go 200 miles, which is an exclusive economic zone. None of these is available to the Palestinians. It is common law around the world, but it is not available to Palestinians. So now we have the Israeli offshore blockade. Please understand that last year circumstances changed because the offshore area used to be called a military restricted zone, and now it is a formal legal blockade. Why is it legal? Because the Palestinian Authority gave permission to the Israelis to control offshore. So every time any vessel approaches the Gaza coastline, they can be legally intercepted by the IDF, by the Israeli Navy, under the law of Palestine. So even their own country gave a little bit of their territory away. Now we see the bottom part. On the right is a picture that I took last year when I tried to get to Gaza on one of the boats. I was one of the crew members on one of the boats that didn't make it. This was a picture I took of tuna, that's small tuna, in the Eastern Mediterranean. This is available to all the Cypriot fishermen and was available even offshore Gaza. The Cypriot fishermen that I interviewed used to fish off Gaza, and this is a sort of catch. As a result of the Israeli intervention, the catches now, you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, the whole industry has been decimated because the Israelis have pushed them close to shore. They can only now go 3 kilometers out. They've diminished all the fish. They've decimated the industry. The only protein that Gaza could get has now gone. It's been taken away. Next slide, please. Okay, now we have another law. We have the Israeli law and we have the international law. Israel, the IDF in particular, have certain borders which they identify and borders they do not identify. Internally, they identify the red area in the right-hand map. And these shaded areas, the brown and the yellow, believe it or not, are vast gas reserves. These vast resources belong to Gaza. But Israel, at the moment, from my understanding, is they're stealing it, and they want to take the whole supply. So, if you look at the black line that I've drawn, that is the legal United Nations line that I've drawn on this navigational chart. You will see a big shortfall in the red line, which is the Israeli interpretation, and the black line, which I've drawn in, is the United Nations line. If you look on the one on the left, this is an Israeli chart, you can see that all those shaded areas off the coast are actual oil fields, potential oil and gas fields. You notice that suddenly they stop at a line. That is the legal international line belonging to Palestine. And it's the only map you'll see of this. Next slide, please. Okay, so now we come to this terrible situation. We have this impoverished state of Gaza and West Bank that is living a life that none of us would even care to mention. You will see the implications later on. But please understand that Gaza and Palestinians have all the wealth in the world. They have billions of dollars tied up in offshore resources. And that's why the offshore zone is protected by the Israeli Navy. And at the end of Kasled, you will recall that Livni rushed across to see Condoleezza Rice on her last day in office to sign a memorandum of understanding. That MOU was to sign the offshore Eastern Mediterranean over to NATO. So now we have the entire seaboard controlled by the Israeli Navy and NATO, and nothing for Gaza. Next slide, please. Okay, this is where the deception came in. Here's two Israeli charts. I have access to these charts because I'm ex-military myself. I'm ex-intelligence service, and I've worked in the Middle East all my life. So I know where to get the charts that you can't get. These two charts here show the Israeli deception. The one on the left shows you the oil fields as they see them, which is illegal. And you will see that the one just to the left of the blue, that's called the Maritime field. They have put an oil rig right on the border with Gaza. But that oil field extends into Gazan territory. So they're taking supply from this reserve that is jointly owned. So they are raping Gaza already, and have done for many years, of a very vital commodity. The other two fields further out are yet to be explored, but I can assure you that the next yellow one, the one further out, they've already got plans to tap into those gas fields and put it down the same pipeline into the Israeli port of Ashkelon. That is, again, illegal because that field is jointly owned. And then we have the brown one, which is called the Gaza Marine 1 and 2. That is worth something in the region of $3 billion US to the Palestinian economy. And they've got no access to it. That in itself, ladies and gentlemen, is a crime. How can you have a state run in total poverty when they've got all this wealth sitting offshore that belongs to them? That is against the United Nations, it's against the Geneva Convention. Next slide, please. Okay, so just to clarify what I've just said, they're doing the same thing up in Lebanon. If you look at the top, they're drilling right on the Lebanese border. So I would ask the question, are they also raping the Lebanese of the gas fields? Why are they drilling right on the border? Here, you can see what they claim is Israeli field, down the bottom here. That, as you can see, touches the border. Even if it extends 2 or 3 centimetres into Gaza, it becomes a joint venture. But Gaza haven't got a say. You'll see the Gaza and Israeli-owned one, the next one out, definitely staggers the border, and that's the one they're going to steal from next. And then, of course, the Gaza-owned one. But it's not going to happen. Before we move on to the next slide, for the ladies that are a bit sensitive, there's some very gruesome pictures coming up soon. Next slide, please. Okay, now we're coming to the truth in Gaza, as has been experienced in the Balkans, in Kuwait, in Iraq, Afghanistan.